Or good afternoon. Good afternoon. As much as we enjoy the coffee break, everything that's good comes to an end, and we need to proceed with our second panel. Here with me are two of our panelists. On my left and on your right is sitting Monika Majar, the policy officer of the Hungarian Women's Lobby, the Hungarian NGO. And on my right, on your left, is sitting Lucja Zachariaszowa, the head of the Gender Equality Unit, Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs of the Czech Republic. Today, the plenipotentiary of the Polish government for equal treatment was expected to come, but unfortunately, the voting in the parliament is still going on, so she couldn't make it. But I hope that this would leave us with possibility of longer discussion, so you can more participate in the panel. We would talk about the quantity and quality of female representation. Does quantity make a difference? I would like to ask first Lucja Zachariaszowa. Does quantity make a difference in Czech Republic? I'd like to ask about the general attitude toward the gender equality in Czech Republic, about the politics of government and most important women's issues in Czech Republic.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. Good afternoon to everybody here. Maybe first I can start with a little background about Czech parliamentary politics, let's say, and start with numbers. So we have 22% of women in our lower chamber of our parliament, which is 44 MPs, women MPs, which is actually the highest number in our history, in the history of Czech parliament. This was, I think, caused by preferential votes in elections in 2010. Veronica in the panel before also spoke about this because we have some big campaigns in 2010 during the election. One was from, for example, Forum 50%, which is our very visible NGO dealing with women's in politics or topic of women's in politics. We have also big campaign called Vote from the Bottom of the candidate lists. So I think these all campaigns and these all things, or people were also a little bit angry to politicians and to politics at all, caused that they gave a lot of preferential votes to women. So that's why now we have the biggest number of women in our lower chamber of parliament, which was, I think, maybe a little bit coincidence in that time. And as was also mentioned in the last panel, I think nothing lasts forever. And yeah, we are now on some level, but I think it is not sure that we will be there after our elections, which will be this October. So in 1 month we will have a new or another elections, earlier elections actually. And so now we can see which topics are important for political parties. And I would say that now during the campaigns, because we are really in the middle of all the campaigns of all the political parties, one of very important topic for them is kindergartens in the Czech Republic, because we have very low number of kindergartens, and for example last year 60,000 of children didn't get into kindergartens in the Czech Republic, so this is really a problem now. And I think all the parties somehow deal with this topic. So concerning the main topic now in the Czech Republic, which is connected, let's say, to gender equality or to some women's issues, if we have something like that, is kindergartens and reconciliation of political or working and private life. As regards public attitudes to women in politics, according to some statistics, we have 70 to 80% of people who wants more women in politics. But as was also mentioned, it really depends on how you pose the question. But this was a research which posed a question: do you want more women in politics? And from 70 to 80% said yes. We also have 50% of public for quotas, which is, I think, quite interesting. Yes, and now the main question with this background, when we have in the Czech Republic the highest number of women in our lower chamber, so the question is, does quantity make a difference? Does it mean that really more women in politics makes politics better or the same or worse or what? So I don't think so. It is only a quantity. I would say that we don't need only women, any women we find anywhere, but the main reason why to have more women in politics is only that it is just, nothing else. I think we cannot imagine that the politics will be better, or the politics, as sometimes is stereotypically saying, will be nicer or, you know, like more pretty, which is really stupid, I think. So I think it will be not. The only thing why we want to have more women in politics is that it is just, because we have democracy. We are 50% of women in the society and 50% of men in the society, and of course women should have the same part of power or the same part of decision making as men. So I think this is the main reason why we want it. So the simple question, does quantity make a difference, for me is no. But of course the debate is not so easy as now I speak about it. So of course women and men have quite a different lives because of socializations, let's say, because of stereotypes, because of maybe discrimination or some traditions. So maybe we can speak about some women's and men's topics, or about the topics which are more close to women or men. So behind my answer no, that does make no difference, we still have to bear in mind that there are some topics which are more likely to be women's topics, and on the other hand, topics which are more likely to be men's topics.
Thank you. So now it's my pleasure to give the floor to the Monika Majar from the Hungarian Women's Lobby. Do quantity make a difference, and how does the situation look like as far as the gender equality and the attitude of government is concerned?
Thank you very much. I'm from the Hungarian Women's Lobby, which is a nationwide umbrella organization of feminist NGOs. And as we heard today, the number of women in the Hungarian parliament is constantly around 10%, so it never changed, and that's why, unfortunately, we don't have experience about whether quantity makes a difference in quality. However, I think it's a very, very important indicator for gender equality in a country, and I think that's why it makes the difference. And if I want to describe the public discourse and the actors, allow me to start with an international mechanism, which are always good, and we are always happy to rely on them, and we can use them in our work as well. However, this year, at the beginning of this year, we had to report to the CEDAW committee, and my NGO prepared the shadow report, and it happened that the government prepared the country report, of course, and they openly said in front of the CEDAW committee, which is a committee for women, that they are not for gender, but they are for family. So gender is a bad word in Hungary, and they think it's opposition to family, and the government publicly announced their views toward it. There is one more very important thing in the Hungarian politics which I think matters, that now I described the governmental party's opinion, and the polarization of the Hungarian public opinion is also very deep. So the polarization meaning that your party preference influence your opinion in all topics, which is, I think, very harmful. And I'm really happy that in this kind of hostile and, as I said, polarized public opinion, we were still able that there are 3 Hungarian women umbrella NGOs, and one is more leftist, one is more connected to the right side, to the conservatives, and we define ourselves as the feminist NGO, the feminist umbrella NGO. So we were able to make a common statement that we want more women into politics. We will have parliamentary elections in April or May next year. We will have the European parliamentary elections in May, and we will have local governmental elections in the autumn 2014. And in this common statement, we used the justice argument, just as my colleague Lucia mentioned. So we also said that it's not fair to exclude half of the population from the decision making. And we really think that we don't want to objectify women anymore, so we want them to be the subject of the decision-making process, and they should be the active participants in politics. And right now, currently in Hungary, we are waiting for the lists to be completed for the elections, and then we will see what will happen, but we are quite negative, because our expectation is that the proportion, the number of women in parliament will decrease further. And about the topics, I think in the last 3 years, the most important topics where gender issues were involved, or concerning gender issues, were the quota and the law for domestic violence. And about the quota, I would like to tell you about the arguments which were used. As I said, in a common statement of the 3 Hungarian NGOs, we used the justice argument, that it's justice for women to participate in politics. But in that quota debate, one of the main arguments was that women and men are basically different, essentially different, and we also need women views in politics. And right now, the current gender topic, the hottest gender topic, is demography in Hungary. But we don't know all the details. The government is preparing an action plan and the strategy about demography. And also about these topics, what we think is very important. So we learned from Poland, we learned the Polish case, and we are also organizing a women's congress. It will take place in Budapest on 11th of November. And we decided not to go for a quota or not to go for the quantitative issues, but we will go for quality. And it means that we will emphasize the policies, we will bring international issues, international norms and standards, and we will thematize gender-based violence, labor, the labor market, health, women's health, and multiple discriminations. So those are the policy fields which we think are the most important currently in Hungary. And we will also ask the parties to come and to talk about their gender policies. So we will not ask them about the list and the candidates, because it will be ready by then, so we cannot influence them anymore, but we will ask about the policies. Thank you.
The other question I would like to ask you is about the gender perspective influencing political decision making. Is it happening in Czech Republic when you have the relatively high share of female MPs? Do female MPs, for example, vote differently than male MPs on given women's rights or social polity issues? Because in Poland, for example, we see that difference. Is it the same in Czech Republic? And are the structures of gender mainstreaming implemented within the functioning of the Czech government?
So, as regards if women votes differently than men in politics, I would say that on the first place, they are all the politicians in our parliament. They are influenced by their parties. So I think it's quite hard to say that women as a group from different parties votes differently than men. I would say on the first place, there are parties or attitudes of different parties. So I would say that in the Czech Republic we don't see anything like this, that there is a different approach or different attitudes of women or of men in voting. That's the first question. On the other hand, there are very, very small, like, I don't want to call it coalitions of women, because it is not a coalition. When I was thinking about this, I know only one very small example of some kind of not coalition, but like the women in parliament went together when we had breast cancer day, or day against breast cancer. So they decided, our women MPs, they decided to came to the parliament in pink, which is a color of this day. So it was the only action which they made together, what I remember. So I think it is not too much.